Welcome back to Tibera's Den, everyone, and welcome back to the final video in my Mythical Element series. Hopefully you've checked out all the previous videos. If you haven't, there is a playlist linked below as well at the end of this video, so definitely check out the previous videos. We first did our water element as mermaids in Sulani, and then we did our air element as aliens in Evergreen Harbor. And then we went to our earth element as vampires in Forgotten Hollow, and we're finally working on our fire element here. They were spellcasters, so I created the sims that are going into this build on Monday, and we're actually in Oasis Springs. I thought about doing the little world that came with that pack, but it's just too green, and since I was doing the fire element with them, I really wanted that desert feel, so I ended up putting them in Oasis Springs, and I wanted them on a hilltop and kind of just like the sand just all uneven, just it kind of making me think of fire. I was trying to like do the mounds so it looked like fire, but of course that wasn't happening. For one, I'm not good enough, and two, I don't know how easy that would be, even for somebody who's really good at the terrain manipulation tool. So, but I did want it kind of uneven around the build, and I wanted the build on top of the hill. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about this build. On one hand, I absolutely love it, but on the other hand, it is a bit much, which you will see what I'm talking about. You're kind of already getting a glimpse here with the different colored patterns on the porches and such. But it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But I think it really fits the two characters I made, Ember and Phoenix, because they're both very outgoing and expressive, and since it is the fire element, I really wanted to express that in kind of an outrageous way. I think out of all the elements, fire is definitely the brightest and the loudest, and so I really wanted to get that across with this build, and plus with their personalities, I really wanted that to come across as well. And you can see the top floor, I try to make it kind of look a little bit like flames, since I wasn't able to do that with the surrounding terrain. I kind of wanted that top floor to look like flames, but it's definitely a lot, but I definitely think you get that, like you would look at it and think fire. And so I kind of alternated the reds and oranges and yellows and just went all the way around. And the fence I was putting up, I actually found, it's called the Phoenix fence, and I thought that was perfect since my one sim is Phoenix. I thought that was absolutely perfect. And the reason I went kind of with this upper area here is because I knew doing a roof would be impossible, but I didn't want it fully open, so I did this little entryway onto the roof and then had it open. And I figured they would have like coven gatherings and things like that up there. And the roof is probably my favorite part of this build. Well, I don't know, I really like Phoenix's room as well, and the kitchen. The living room and the little entryway I didn't do too much with, so they're not as exciting, but the rest of the build I think I did a pretty good job with. And here I just used the different colored tiles, and I love those tiles from Spa Day. The colors, and they looked like they were glowing, so they were absolutely perfect for this build, and so I used those pretty much throughout the whole build. Like I said, it's a lot. It is a lot, and it hurts your eyes after a while looking at it, but it just fits their personalities and everything so perfectly. And up here, I also wanted to get the different colors, and so I went with a bunch of smaller roof pieces so I could do the different colors and get that across as well, on that little area of roof that I do have. And I like how that turned out too. I wish they had red, but they only had the orange and the yellow. so I wasn't able to do any red on top of the roof, but it's still, I think it works, and it looks all kind of faded, and the paper on the wallpaper, the wood, the coloring on the outside looks all faded too, which I think is perfect for this build. And so up here, what I ended up doing is they have their cauldrons and a little like bar area, and I did like a little garden, and a little seating area, and I figured they would just, whenever they could, when the weather was permitting, they would be up here working on stuff. And then on the inside, you'll see I do like a little study for times when they're not able to be outside. They could be working inside on their studies, coming up with potions or spells or things like that. But I really do like how this turned out. And of course, I forgot to put my cheats on, so I had to do that real quick. Because I normally try to do that before I start, but I had totally forgotten on this build. So now I'm just doing a little garden area, and I forgot about the little wishing well, and I thought that was perfect, so I put that down and put like a little bench that they could sit on and make wishes, or maybe when they're entertaining, maybe that's something that's part of their coven, that's kind of like who they're praying to, and asking for things they wish to come true. So I really liked adding that in as well. And then the little candlesticks and such. There's so many good things for this element. And like I said, it is a bit much, but it just fits perfectly for the element. And then of course the herbs and just everything. I really liked how this turned out. And of course there's tons of fire stuff for you to hang up as well. And I realized I forgot to put the glyph up in my vampire build, because I wanted the glyph for each, from Jungle Adventure rather. I wanted that in each of the builds. And when I did my first vampire build, I had put it up, but it didn't transfer over to the inventory, and I forgot to put it up. So I'm definitely going to have to go back in and put that up. But theirs is the only one that is colored, so I thought that fit with the fire element as well. And now I'm just trying to find wallpaper and flooring that I like. And some of the wood I liked, but it just didn't go with the overall theme. So, because I wanted to try to mute it down a little bit, but I didn't like how it looked. So I ended up going very loud, which, like I said, both of their personalities, it fits them to a T. So they would have no problem with how bright their home is and how much it stands out at all. And I did want to put like little planters up here, but it was just getting to be, it would have taken me hours just to do that. So I do put a few along the jagged edges of the fence, but past that I didn't do the planters all the way around because it was just too much. And I figured with them they wouldn't really have a lot of plants. Like these ones, they look like fire, and I do put like some palm trees and such, but fire consumes plants, so I don't think they would necessarily have a bunch of plants around either. But I did like these ones. I wanted to put these ones because they are perfect color and shape and everything to kind of remind you of fire. And then this awkward little spot here, I was having trouble kind of finding something to put in there, so I just put that little rug of flowers. Now I'm doing my floor pan for the upper floor, so right now I'm making a bathroom. And then this is going to be Phoenix's room and Ember's room to the right. And Ember has the bathroom, even though it's kind of in between their room. I figure Ember would definitely claim the bathroom. And then I put a bathroom down here as well. And you can see in the kitchen area, it's definitely muted down a little bit, but the rest of the house is still... The flooring is extremely bright, and the walls as well. I went with the walls that match this flooring throughout most of the build, like the living room and such. The bathrooms have kind of a muted wallpaper, And the bedrooms have like the sunset wallpaper, but the rest of the kitchen has a different wallpaper, but it's still very loud. But the hallway and the living room, I went with the wallpaper that matches the flooring. And so it is very, very bright. I can just imagine walking into this house and being hit with that. Like, you would need to wear sunglasses just to be in the house for sure. But like I said, with the fire element, I wanted to go full out with it, and I really do like how it turned out. And so this wallpaper is the one I went with for the kitchen. I ended up keeping that just because it has all the different colors. I was trying to find something else because I don't like that wallpaper at all, but I didn't want to keep using the same thing that I used in the kitchen, or I mean in the living room and this hallway in the kitchen. So I ended up doing that, and then they have like a little mud room there that takes them to the back deck and down. I didn't put anything on the back deck because I figured if they were hanging outside, they would be up on the upper floors, but it's just kind of a way for them to go down and out the back instead of going out the front. And so they might go down that way and kind of go, you know, into the rocks or something like that to go for a walk instead of meeting people. They wouldn't necessarily always want to be social with everybody. And so now I'm doing the bathrooms, and I actually really, really like how the bathrooms turned out. I really, on Phoenix's bathroom, I put the laundry in there, and I think you'll see the shelves. I put like the laundry pack shelves in there, and I think they're clipping the washer and dryer. So I don't think they'll necessarily function. I haven't tested them out at all, but I'll definitely have to check that out. But even for the awkward shape these bathrooms were, I think it worked perfectly. I had just the right amount of room, and I still got the color scheme and that fire element across as well. So I really like how it turned out. The hardest part was probably the rugs. Finding a rug that I liked that worked for the area was more difficult than I liked, but that's okay. And like I said, their rooms turned out really well, and the cat son has has her own little room. And so I was gonna do like a walk-in closet for Ember, but I figure no, she would definitely let the cat have her own little space instead of having a walk-in closet. So the cat has its own little space with its, perches and toys and litter boxes. So definitely one spoiled cat. And so now I'm just putting that up. And it was more yellow when I was building it. It's a little bit more muted now, but like I said, the rest of the house is so extreme. I still think it works overall. You guys will have to definitely let me know in the comments who your favorite elements were and which build was your favorite. I think as far as the elements themselves go, my favorite female sim was definitely Ashen from the vampire, the earth element. She is my favorite female sim. I absolutely love her. And my favorite male sim is definitely Phoenix here. He's got such personality, and he just stands out so much, and I just absolutely love him. And overall, the builds, I would have to say my favorite build is probably, I don't know. I like them all in different ways, and I hate them all in different ways. Well, not hate, but there's definitely things I dislike about each of them. Because I think my favorite build as far as like playability and my own personal style would definitely have to be the mermaid build. But as far as like pushing myself out of my comfort zone and trying new things, I think the air element, I really pushed myself on that one to try different things, and I do like how it turned out, but I don't think I necessarily got a lot of the personality in there, where with the fire element here, I think I did a really, really good job of getting the personality of the Sims across. And even the vampires, that one really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and doing the terrain manipulation and trying new things. But again, it wasn't quite what I was going for. There was aspects of it, especially for Ashton's personality, that wasn't quite what I was going for, where I really got it across with Dusty. His personality definitely suited the build a lot better. So I think probably my favorite, as far as just getting their personality across and whatnot, has to be this one. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's so far. I mean, my favorite as far as my personal taste would definitely be the mermaid one, and that was grays and blues, and then you have this one with yellows and oranges and bright reds. So it's as far from my personal taste as you can get, but I really feel it fits with these Sims that I created. And so I think this one might be my favorite, as far as pushing myself and not just doing something that was to my taste. I definitely think this one would have to win. But definitely, like I said, let me know what you guys think, and if you have any tips, even if you haven't watched the other videos yet, check them out, and then let me know in the comments any tips you have overall as I kind of did this series. Anything you might suggest or that I could do better. But I definitely really had a fun time with this, and it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone as far as what I've done in the past. And so I'm really looking forward to continuing to do these builds and create a Sims and just continue to push myself. And like I said, next week is going to be I'm going to do create a Sims based on the seasons. So it's all going to be one household, though. I'm not going to do like a series on it. It's just going to be one household. And so I'm going to do the seasons, and then I'm going to have one household for them, a build that's based on the seasons as well. So definitely come back and check. And I think because I don't do elders a whole lot, I might do them as elders, and they're kind of, the storyline behind them may be like they're in charge of the seasons in the Sims world. Like they're a little bit magical and kind of going along the same theme that I have been going. I think that might be really fun, but I never do elders, and I don't think a whole lot of people do. And so I definitely want them in my game, and I'll try to maybe make them where they won't age up or anything like that, and that way they'll just be there throughout my game as I start playing and such, which I have a lot of work to do before I get to that point of being able to do Let's Play, even though I did start doing the Let's Play for the Pack Journey to Batu, which is a lot of fun. I did do that in this save file because I want the character I created for that I wanted in this world, and I absolutely love her. So if you haven't checked out that video, definitely do so. And then I also have the World Wildlife fun videos that I did this week, based on Claire Chabon's videos. So if you haven't checked those out, check those ones out as well. They're all on my channel, so you can find them really easily. And so they're in this world as well. And I have a dolphin and a Sim based on a macaw, a jaguar, and a green anaconda. So I did Sims based on those animals for that. I think it's a really good cause, and if you haven't watched Claire's videos, you should definitely check those out. And she has a link to donate to help save the rainforests. So definitely check those out. But back on track. I kind of got off track. And so now I'm just doing their room. And for him, I really, I don't know, like his style, he treats himself well, And so he has the luxurious bed, and his dresser is super nice, and he has the double tall dressers and then the middle dresser. And his books, I went into debug and did the magic tomes, and so he has like the ones more like flirty and romantic, where she has ones more bent on destruction. So, and I found like some makeup stuff like in debug that I didn't even know they had, and so I put those down so that way her little makeup area was a little bit different than my other Sims, because I was using the makeup, especially for I used it for my mermaid and for Ashen as well. So, but and then of course, because there's the fire element, I had to put candles like everywhere. And her room's very luxurious too, but kind of in a different way. Like I said, she's just extravagant, where he's more comfort and elegance. But of course, with the yellow, it doesn't scream elegance to me, but that goes with the fire. So now I'm just placing all the tomes around, and I placed a bunch of wands around as well. I figured they would have several, and the broomsticks as well. They wouldn't just have the one they use all the time. They would kind of be collectors of that. And so I have those around the room, which I absolutely love the debug option, because you're able to put those things instead of having to go and buy them, which is very handy, to already have them when you already kind of have your storyline as far as what you want already set. You don't have to go through and play it to try to get to that point of what you have in your mind. So I definitely use debug a lot, but it's just there's so much in it. Sometimes you don't even notice. You pass right over things. But I like how it turned out. And so, like I said, I'm just putting the brooms around and just getting the rooms kind of cozy and how I want them. But I really like the hallway and how I did the hallway. So, because I end up, instead of the wands being in the room, I end up putting them out in the hallway in the wand display cases, which worked perfectly. And I had to put that flag up for Phoenix, because he definitely is very open to that, and so he has to represent, for sure. But he's my favorite Sim by far, and I really can't wait to start playing him. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So now I'm just trying to kind of fill up the hallway a little bit, which is harder. I don't really spend a lot of time on hallways and entryways in the past either, so it's definitely definitely harder for me to get them done. But I like how it turned out. And of course, all the little magic things. The Realm of Magic pack, I think the items you got for the Realm of Magic pack definitely fit well, when you're trying to get that across. If you're pretty tame, that is. Because if you're kind of going for the darker side of magic, I don't think they necessarily fit. But then again, you can always download custom content if you need to. But this little area in the hallway, I really wanted, to have a lot of the magical things on display, because if they were hosting like their coven, that they would walk right past there to go up to the roof area. And so that's kind of why I was going with that aspect. And you have the wands on display and the little posters and such. So as they were hosting people would see that on their way to the roof. And then just trying to do this little bathroom, which I do like how it turned out as well. Definitely a little bit smaller than the upper floors. And I don't know why. I didn't necessarily need to put a shower in here, because there's not really like a guest room or anything. But I figure, if they were hosting an event or something, and say, a potion blew up or anything like that, maybe their guests would need to take a shower. So I wanted to have that extra shower because they wouldn't necessarily want people using their personal restrooms. And so that's why I kind of put that down here as well. And now I am working on, I ended up doing a little study on this end, which I guess I could have made it a little bit bigger, and then I would have had less room to fill up because the study's kind of snug. And then the living area is very open, and there's almost too much room in the living area and the entryway. And so I could have maybe extended the study down. But I wanted that archway into the kitchen kind of centered, between the study, where the study wall starts, and the bathroom wall. But, I mean, it is what it is. And I kind of like that that's open and you have a straight shot to either the bathroom or the study or the living room or kitchen, wherever you need to go. But it does seem a little empty compared to the rest of the builds. And so I did decide to change the rainbow door. As much as I liked it, since I used it throughout the rest of the house, it didn't really seem to fit for a front door or a back door, so I did end up changing that out as well. And I do like how the doors turned out. And then just like a little coat rack and umbrella rack, even though they would mostly use the mudroom probably to go in and out. If they're in a hurry to maybe get somewhere, they use the front door, so they would probably want to keep like something in that area just in case they needed to go out. And so now I'm just making their little study. I love these bookshelves. These are probably my favorite bookshelves from Realm of Magic. I mean, in the game, they're from Realm of Magic. I absolutely love them, and they just don't always fit my build so well. So even though they're my favorite, they don't always fit. And then I'm putting the little cabinet and a table and just a bunch of potions. And so I figure since Phoenix is the purveyor of potions, he would probably work on the desk that's to the left as you come in, where Ember would be straight ahead and work on that desk, and she might be really into like the crystal balls and whatnot, where he's more focused on potions. And I put the little notebook there, and, he might be writing down recipes or coming up with recipes and different things like that. So like I said, it's kind of cozy in there, but I really do like how it turned out as well. And now I'm just working on the kitchen. And the kitchen, I was going to use the Realm of Magic, but it just didn't fit the overall aesthetic. The natural woods and such worked well even for the fire element, but the kitchen just didn't. None of the color schemes. And so I thought, well, maybe black, because after fire's done doing its thing, you're left with just charred remains. But I just didn't like it, so I ended up getting rid of all those and going with the red cabinets and countertops. And I just thought they worked a little bit better than the Realm of Magic countertops did. And at first I put down the countertops in white, so I had to switch all those to black. And yeah, I think that I like this kitchen. And I put like all the crystals, and I don't think it was necessarily would be a kitchen for like actual cooking, but more like testing out, when he's not cooking things up in his cauldron, he might be testing things out in the kitchen. And then she has all kinds of crystals, and maybe she makes crystal balls out of them. Like I don't know, but I just put a bunch of crystals, and then there's some bugs. So they just, the kitchen's more like of a test area than it is a true kitchen. Because they would definitely be more focused on testing things out. And I tried to get like the little bugs that made me think. So I got like firefly, and I can't remember the other bugs I got. And so there's just a bunch of anything that was like fire, a lightning bug. I got a lightning bug and some other kind of bug, but there's 5 of them I put down. And so I thought they worked nicely for a little witch's kitchen. And then they do have a nice dining room, so maybe sometimes they'll host a dinner with their coven or something like that, because they do have a nice dining room. Or maybe the rest of the people might bring, like, they do like a potluck thing, because I just don't see either one of them really being too much into cooking. They'd probably be more like quick meals and such. They focus so much of their energy on magic and that aspect, that I don't think they would necessarily be much on the cooking aspect. But they definitely have a nice big kitchen, and then they have the nice dining area as well. And I absolutely love the dining area chairs I found. So I used the table I've been using because it was perfect. But the dining chairs I found, that color I absolutely loved, and it actually matched the table perfectly. And so I was really happy. And plus, there was so much red and orange in here, that little splash of yellow and wood I really liked. And then the house was, I think, on medium wall height, so I dropped it down, and I had to fix all the windows, of course, because I did that. But that's okay. So now just trying to find, like I said, a little clutter, anything that made me think of fire and magic. And I put little cat treats around because I know they would absolutely spoil their cat. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So I put the little cat treats on the living room table so they could spoil him. And he sleeps with Ember, but he's definitely both their cats, or cat. He's he's just the family familiar, even though he sleeps with Ember, and that's just because she had the walk-in closet and he could have his own little space and whatnot. And I thought about giving him like a little area in Phoenix's room as well, but his room is smaller, and I figure he has the other area. He has a little tree and such down here, so he'd be perfectly fine with that. And then the mud room here, I did the little coat rack. I wanted that hat and jacket, and so I just used the move object cheat to kind of look like it was hanging up in this little yellow coat hanger cubby thing. And so they would, be getting ready in here and have their shoes and their coats and jackets and such that they could grab and go out. But this was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's definitely a bit extreme, but for their personalities, I absolutely love it. And I'm just realizing those windows are up too high. So I don't know that I went in and fixed that. I will definitely have to do that if I haven't. But I didn't catch that until just now when we were spinning around and looking at it. And so now I'm just doing a few last little touches, and that's about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys here. Like I said, please let me know in the comments what you think of these builds, and which ones were your favorite, which sims were your favorite out of the mythical elements. And we will see you next week for our seasons. Have a good one, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.